No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league.
Welcome back to Summoner's Rift. In China, we have RNG facing off against V5 in the Big Dick bot lane. Sam D and PP God were spraying arrows all over the place, building up a 3k gold lead and a 3 dragon advantage. At the 23-minute mark, Lee Sin took something in his eye. It was an ash arrow. The blind monk is blinded and dies. The Monkey King spins to lose, dying quickly, and Ming has gone missing. V5 wins game 1. In game 2, Xiao Hu must have gotten something in his eye because now he's crying. Wait a second, they subbed out Xiao Hu? Xiao Hu do they think they are? This is a travesty. Go on, V5, beat the shit out of them. I can't believe the injustice, the disrespect. Cram it in their cram hole. Wee, come on, get to squirting. Kill them all. Death to the traitors, this is ridiculous. Sam D popping off once again, this time on 200 years. Taking out Xiao Hu. What a joke. I thought we were in China where we tried to win games. Apparently not. V5 with their most impressive victory of the year, taking down RNG in their first true challenge. The next battle had the past 2 world champions squaring off in what many believed would be a quick win for FPX. In game 1, FPX had a small gold lead, but also had Dragon Soul. Southwind engages first and Trundle is going down fast, but Tian stopwatches, and Khan starts up his ult. Tian flashes out and Southwind is the first to fall, as Doinbee's equalizer creates an unfair fight. Rookie perishes, and now Invictus Gaming is on the retreat. FPX is feeling themselves, and they're looking to close out the game. They fall to their towers, but Ning is hit by a pillar and a thresh hook. FPX is diving under the Nexus towers, but they only have a small wave. Can the Shy save his team's chances at winning? He steals Rumble's ultimate and throws down an equalizer of his own. But it's too little too late. Doinbee was going down, but the Shy dies first. Invictus Gaming is aced, and FPX takes game 1. In game 2, Invictus is shoved into the base, and Mord goes in for an ultimate, but Invictus Gaming is a big baby. An extended teamfight has FPX fall first, and Invictus Gaming brings it to a game 3. At the 22-minute mark, both teams are ready for a dragon fight. FPX is on the dragon, looking to deny Soul Point. But Jarvan is skulking around and he's looking for a steal! The Shy is coming in hot! Literally, he's on fire, he's Rumble. He shoots fire on Rumble, and Fiddlesticks dies along with Trundle, giving Invictus Gaming a chance to take Baron and close out the game. They start up the Baron, but FPX knows what's going on. Khan is the first to arrive on the scene, but Baron is already low. He pops his ultimate and gets into the pit, but Rookie is playing like a veteran, hitting 2 with his ultimate. 200 years is going down. Khan and Doinby both die. Invictus Gaming barely wins the fight and finishes off the reverse sweep 2-1. In Korea, Sandbox are collapsing on DRX in the top lane. Maokai has a great fight, but DRX is a big. Corki is already low, and the perfect Senna ult can't get the job done. Maokai dies first, and DRX wins game 1. In game 2, Spots is engaging onto DRX once again. Tarek pops his ult, but DRX isn't able to take anyone down. The fight moves from the river into the mid lane. Ornn, the Ram God, whiffs his ultimate. Not very impressive. But you done messed up, Aatrox, and 200 years takes his first victim. Sandbox shockingly wins the team fight and forces a game 3. Now in game 3, DRX makes life a beach for Sandbox, winning the decisive teamfight around Baron and closing out the game at the 33-minute mark with a 10,000 gold lead. GG, easy. The final match had Gen.G and Damwon Gaming facing off. Both teams are top 4 in Korea, but who will be number 1 on the Rift today? Damwon starts up Elder, but can't finish it before being collapsed on and killed by Gen.G. Game 1 goes Gen.G's way. In Game 2, Damwon Gaming has a 7k gold lead and is on sole point, but they want Baron to close this one out, and Nogri are looking for a flank as Gen.G comes in to contest the Baron. The Baron is low, and it looks like their patience is going to pay off. But Zoe has other ideas. Stealing the Baron! After the Baron steal, Damwon Gaming collapses on Gen.G and aces them easily. We're headed to a Game 3. In Game 3, Damwon Gaming is unable to stop Gen.G at all. Gen.G was truly the better team today, taking Dragon Soul without much of a contest, and killing off 3 members before flooding the base and taking the series 2-1. Yo, what's up everybody? It's Pikel, and we've got a lot of games to go over for tomorrow. So yesterday was not a great day for my picks. V5 beat RNG. Invictus Gaming beat FPX, which I was pretty happy about, if I'm honest. Like I don't even care if I lose a bet if I like the team that wins. So a little weird, but that's kind of just how it is. And then Damwon Gaming lost to Gen.G. The one thing I would say is I think that I was pretty spot on with my analysis yesterday. I thought that every match had the chance to be very close and very low scoring, and this was a pretty low scoring day altogether. So V5 against RNG, I think 2 out of the 3 matches barely got over 10 kills for the winning team. FPX against IG, that's really the match that I thought was going to be the highest scoring on the day, and I think it ended up being that way. And the reason is because when Invictus Gaming is ahead, they really push the tempo, and when they're behind, they give up a decent amount of kills. So that was pretty good. DRX against Sandbox. In my video, I said the only thing I was afraid of is DRX not being able to get the game not played bonus, which really limits their upside. And then the last game, Damwon Gaming against Gen.G against Damwon Gaming. I think that the same thing was true. Both teams had a chance of keeping the kill score pretty low because it was a very important match for both teams. it's like when you play against someone who you know is just as good as you and you're competing to be the best. I think that it makes sense for the games to be a little more closely contested, and when you have the opportunity to win the game and like completely finish everything, you just got to go for it. I think right now not most of the professional teams. Right now, all of the good professional teams can get one victory in a team fight between like the 25 to 35 minute mark, and just as long as they have a minion wave and like 2 or 3 members, they've been really good at just trying to end the game as fast as possible. So that's something to keep a lookout for in the future. Let me make sure I'm not messing this up. Got to keep the sheet clean. Win, loss. Alright, so tomorrow we have... I don't think we have Brazil. Let's take a look. So tomorrow we do not have Brazil, but we do have some matches this weekend. In the LPL, we have World Elite against Rogue Warriors. Let me get the rosters. World Elite against Rogue Warriors, and then we also have a pretty exciting match, Top Esports against Edward Gaming. Unfortunately, Hope has a collapsed lung or something, so he will not be able to play. And that's a pretty bad loss for EDG, because basically like any chances they really had of winning this series, I think kind of went out the window, and I think it really decreased the chances that they would actually be able to get a single game in either. So that does kind of stink. But let's take a look at the lineups. So we have, for Rogue Warriors, we have Holder, Haro finally coming back, Ruby, Zwuji, and Shun Yu. So that's a new support player. I don't know anything about that guy. But it's tough to see World Elite losing this matchup. I think that World Elite is on fire right now, and I think that World Elite will most likely be able to beat Rogue Warriors. The reason why I don't really care sharing the picks for these matches today is because they are pretty one-sided. Like, there's not really much to go over. It's tough to see Rogue Warriors winning this match. Also, we have sub risks. So Holder would be a sub risk. Crazy could come in. Haro is a sub risk. Yudong could come in. Ruby is a sub risk. Wu Ming can come in. Shun Yu can get pulled out for Lei, I think, is the other support there. But let's get up the salaries for the slate. And then Top Esports against EDG. We have 369, Karsa, Knight, Jackie Love, and Yu Yanjia against Audi, GG, Scout, BBD, and Mako. So it's really not that interesting in China tonight. I think most of these matchups are going to be pretty one-sided in terms of ownership. So we can talk about ownership. Afrika Freaks against T1. The Afrika Freaks are probably the best underdog on the slate for DraftKings purposes. I think for DraftKings, Afrika Freaks and Hanwha Life are both kind of interesting. They should be the two middle teams. Oh, Afrika Freaks is second to last. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. So let's go to the Korean matches. In Korea, we have T1 and Afrika Freaks. So it's minus 370 and 261. Then we have Team Dynamics against Hanwha Life, minus 159 and 121. Okay, so I think Afrika Freaks versus T1, you have two teams that are expected to make the playoffs. Minus 370 is pretty surprising for T1. I know that they're coming off of a loss. I doubt they win 2 matches in a row, but I doubt they lost. I doubt they lose 2 matches in a row. But Afrika Freaks, how do they win? Kana against Keen, I think, is pretty close. Cuz against Spirit, that's a big advantage to T1. Faker against Fly or All In. Faker is going to be the side I prefer there. Teddy against Mystic. So Mystic's been going off. He'll be popular tonight, which is probably a mistake. If they don't win, if a Freak of Freaks doesn't win, I think that's all gonna be wasted ownership. On a Freak of Freaks. So yeah, I get that question a lot, and I guess I should kind of touch on that real quick. So people like asking, like, what order do you like the teams, or do you think I could play this team in GPP or cash? I don't look at the game that way. I think that unless we know the champions that the teams are going to be playing, it's really unrealistic to put that kind of qualification on them, because you can say, like, oh, I would only play this team in cash tonight because I don't think that their upside is that high. But in reality, every team has huge upside depending on the draft. So that's really the only way to look at it. Using like a mean projection in cash games or in GPPs, I think, is going to get you into trouble because it doesn't actually reflect the range of outcomes that they have. And you're not rostering them thinking that they might lose. You're only rostering them in situations that they win. So it's like, in wins, how good are they? And that's really tough to distinguish between those teams. And that's why I like telling people I think that the match is close. I think that the match isn't close. I think that we should expect a 2-0. I think that we should expect a 2-1. I can see both teams getting a sweep. I can't see both teams getting a sweep. I think those are better ways to think of things. And my goal with my channel and giving out sheets and giving out picks and all that kind of stuff, I'm not trying to build lineups for people. I'm trying to give people information that they can decide for themselves who they want to play. Because I have a lot of people watching the videos asking me for advice. If I'm giving everybody the same advice, then I'm not going to be able to help you create a competitive advantage to yourself. It would be the same 80 people running out the same lineup every night, and nobody wants that. I think it's against the rules for DraftKings, first of all, and yeah, it's just not the way that I want to do things. Like, I want people to be able to take my information, use their skill, their own personal skill, because this is a skill game, and then run out the lineups that they think are good. So I figure I should just get that out of the way, because I've been getting that question a lot recently. In the other match, we have Dynamics against Hanwha Life. So Hanwha Life, again, we know that they are sub-risks, but they do seem to want to play Dudu and CAD more often now, which is pretty good. They looked bad in their last matchup, but I still think that the bot lane for Hanwha Life is just like it's a combination that you're going to want to get exposure to almost every single time they're on the slate, because if Hanwha Life wins, Viper's going to go crazy, and Lehens will probably be a part of that as well. So for that reason, I mean, Lehens is higher priced than Guger, and he's expected to lose based on the money line and everything. So I don't know if I'm going to be doing a stream later tonight to go over the different stacking combinations for this. But like I said, I think World Elite and Top Esports are both going to be very highly owned. I think that Hanwha Life and a Freak of Freaks will both be highly owned, and that's because they're the teams that either have a realistic chance of winning, or are not complete huge underdogs, which is always scary to put on your roster. So I think that's basically it for China and Korea. But we also have matches in Europe and North America. So let's go to Europe. DraftKings is really making some weird decisions with their contests. I don't get it, if I'm being honest. All right. Let's go to the LEC. So the LEC, I started off pretty rough. Just an update. I'm 62%, 77, and 44 on my picks so far. NALCS, I've been doing really well. LEC, I've been doing okay. Like, that's good enough to break even, but it's not gonna make you a big profit in the long run. So let's see if I can boost those numbers a little bit tomorrow. So first up, we have XL against Schalke. XL is a minus 167 favorite, which is pretty surprising. I think that XL has had some interesting games, but XL and Schalke are like the same kind of team. They're not very good at all. I think everyone's very low on Schalke right now because they have been getting destroyed by everyone. So they're 0-5 right now. XL is 1-4. Who did they just beat? They beat SK Gaming, and SK Gaming has been pretty good so far this season, but SK Gaming was overperforming, I think, a little bit. So I'm not really afraid of XL or Schalke. I still think that they're probably in the same range of talent level. So that wasn't going to be a big adjustment for me. I think that's why the line is the way that it is. I think that there's more value on Schalke, but it is going to be scary to roster them. There's also the sub risk. We don't know who they're starting. You'll have to check that out on Twitter. If I see it, I will retweet their roster. But it's always tough when there are potential sub risks and stuff like that. It's never fun to roster those kinds of players without any kind of certainty. So then next match is Misfits against Vitality. So Misfits, I'm pretty high on Misfits long term. I think that they have a good core, and I think they will be good long term. I think that they're definitely a better team than Vitality. So Misfits has lost to Fnatic, lost to Rogue, and lost to SK. So the SK loss, I think, was a little frightening, but they should have beat Fnatic, and I would have won some money if they beat Fnatic. They had that gigantic throw, which was tough to watch. Vitality, on the other hand, Vitality beat G2, which was very surprising. They beat Schalke, which was surprising at the time, but now it doesn't look as surprising. They've lost to Fnatic, and they've lost to Rogue. So I think Misfits is more like Rogue and Fnatic, and they lost to Mad Lions. So I think that's where Misfits kind of belongs. I will probably not have much exposure to XL tomorrow, assuming that I play the European slate. I'll probably play the European slate. But I've got some stuff going on tomorrow, so I don't know if I can watch the games, and I don't like betting if I can't watch the games. Next up, we have G2 minus 556. That's an 85%er against SK at 363. So obviously the value here is on SK Gaming. G2 hasn't looked right so far this split, but last week they took care of business, I think. I'm pretty sure they won all their matches. So G2 has beaten Schalke. They've beaten Mad Lions. They lost to Origin, and they lost to Vitality. Losing to Origin is really not that big of a deal. Origin's a pretty good team. It's just that when they lost to Origin, they were coming off of... when they lost to Origin, Origin was coming off of a bad loss. So everybody expected G2 to beat them pretty easily. But that's really, 60-40 kind of match at worst. So I think it's pretty obvious most players are going to be on G2 and want the upside of G2. We haven't seen them really destroy a slate, but they always have the potential to destroy a slate. So I'd watch out for that. SK Gaming will be very low owned if you think that's something that's interesting. I think that SK Gaming has been playing Volibear, so I would expect them to pick that champion. But we have started seeing counters to it, like Fiora, so I don't think it's as unstoppable as some other people do. There's definitely game plans that will be able to take it down. And G2 would play something like Soraka into it, I bet. I don't know how that matchup goes, but I would assume that Soraka does well in that matchup. Next match, we have Origin against Mad. So these are two different styles of teams. Origin is more of a macro-focused team. Mad Lions is more similar to... like G2, where they want to create a bloody game. Their macro is not as strong as Origin, so right now Origin is a slight favorite. They're 3-2. Mad Lions is 4-1. Mad Lions has lost to G2. Origin lost to SK and Misfits. But Origin has beaten Fnatic and G2. So I think that most people will be on the Origin side. I know that Mad Lions has the better record right now, but Mad Lions have had a much easier schedule. I think that for fantasy purposes, Origin could actually be in play. I'm not normally playing Origin because of their macro playstyle, but Mad Lions might be the kind of team that tries to force the issue against Origin through like team fighting and stuff like that around these objectives. I don't see Mad Lions really laying over and dying, especially when they're in first place right now and they can kind of like just risk it and play in like a high volatility game environment and like not be too upset if they lose. Because 4-1, like that's a good start to the season, and unless they hit some kind of huge losing streak, they're not really going to be in trouble of missing out on a playoff spot to Vitality, XL, or Schalke. So they would really have to hit a huge losing streak to be in trouble of missing the playoffs. But that's a close match. I think both teams could definitely win that. I wouldn't make a bet on this unless for some reason I was convinced that one team was much better than the other, but that's just not how I feel. Fnatic against Rogue. Rogue has been getting talked up a lot. The whole narrative right now in the LEC is that Rogue is like, oh, they're finally becoming a very good team. And I'm pretty skeptical. I think that they have some good players. They have been playing well. But let's take a look at who they played. They played XL. XL is bad. They played Schalke. Schalke is bad. They beat Misfits. That's a good win. They beat Vitality. Vitality is bad. And they lost to G2. So I think Fnatic is obviously closer to G2 than Vitality, Schalke, or XL. So I think this is going to be a tough test for Rogue. I think that it is probably a 60-40 match or a 55-45 match in Fnatic's favor, but I don't really see big value here. I'll have to probably go lane by lane. So I guess we could do that real quick. Fnatic and Rogue. Bwipo versus Finn. I think Bwipo is a better player than Finn. Selfmade against Inspired. I think they're pretty even. Selfmade has looked good at points this season, but he's also looked really questionable at different points. Nemesis. I'm not a big Nemesis fan. I think that they're like pretty infatuated with Twisted Fate right now. I think that Twisted Fate looks better than it really is because of like the whole gold mechanic that he has, where he gets additional gold. But I'm not a huge fan of Twisted Fate right now. I think it's way too common in the professional scene for the actual power level of the champion. I think that there are a couple reasons for that, but we're not going to get into that. Larson is more of a control mage player. And I guess Nemesis is sort of too. Like, Nemesis can also play the control mages, but Larson, that's kind of his specialty. Reckless against Hansama. This is interesting. I think that Hansama has looked very good so far this season in terms of how he's willing to, like, flash in team fights and play very aggressive. He is the reason why I would actually consider picking Rogue against Fnatic, because I could see if the game goes even, I could see it being. If the game goes even, I could see it being a spot where like they set up a good team fight composition, and he's able to make an aggressive play. So normally when I talk about 80 carries, I say like I don't really care too much about 80 carries. I think that most bot laners are the same in terms of talent level. I think that Hansama is actually the kind of player who could create a competitive edge and like a winning advantage in the bot lane because of his aggressive playstyle. He's very interesting. I think that Fnatic is blue side, so Fnatic is technically more likely to get Aphelios, but let's take a look at the champion stats. Let's see what the win rate is for Aphelios. Aphelios has a 57% win rate. If Fnatic picks Aphelios first overall, I would expect Rogue to try and counter it with something else. Like, I don't think they're going to go Aphelios versus Ezreal and just play that match. Let's take a look. Okay. So they've played Aphelios. They've played Aphelios. They played Ezreal. They played Aphelios, and they played Aphelios. So I think for them it would be better for them to be on blue side. So if they're red side, didn't we see a Draven game from him? I could have swore we saw a Draven game from him this split. Let me check the match history. I was like so sure that we saw that. Yeah, I guess we didn't. That's surprising. I could have swore I saw a Draven this split. Okay, well, that is a champion that Hansam is able to play. So I would watch out for something like that. That's an interesting matchup. I think that'll be a fun game to watch. I think that SO4 XL will go pretty low owned for DraftKings. Vitality Misfits, I think that it's a tough one to get exposure to because Misfits hasn't convinced anybody that they're good, and Vitality doesn't inspire confidence really either. G2 against SK, I think G2 is going to be heavily owned. Mad against Origin, I expect both of these teams to kind of get hit a little bit in ownership because they're playing against one another. Mad Lions is pretty inexpensive, so I would actually expect them to be pretty... I think Mad Lions will be more owned than OG because of the cheap price tag and because players like Mad Lions. They have good memories of Mad Lions doing well for DraftKings. And then Fnatic and Rogue, I think they're also going to get a decent amount of ownership. So G2, Mad, and Fnatic and Rogue are the 4 teams that I would expect to be the highest owned on the slate. So if you want to try to get contrarian and go somewhere else, that option will definitely be available tomorrow. And then we also have North America. Oh, I won that one. Okay, so we have FlyQuest against CLG. I'm not sure which AD carry is playing for FlyQuest, but I don't really care. I think that FlyQuest is the better team. CLG definitely has chances to win. I think that there's not as much value as I would want at 177. I'd really want it at 200. And at 200, I'd be interested in making a bet because I think that's a good number for them. CLG... Right now, CLG is 3-1. CLG has beaten Dignitas, Golden Guardians, and Immortals, but they lost to Evil Geniuses. So they beat 3 teams that they should be in contention with. I'm surprised they beat Golden Guardians. I think that Golden Guardians is underperforming right now. Not much more to say than that. Cloud9 against Team Liquid. All right. So this is going to be another spot where you kind of just, you know that the value is on Team Liquid, but do you feel comfortable making the bet? I mean, Team Liquid right now is 3-1 in their match history. They have beaten 100 Thieves. They lost to Evil Geniuses. I was on the Evil Geniuses side, I believe. Yeah, that was a really good dog. Wait, I lost that one? Oh, that's the wrong one. EG versus TL. Where was that? TL. EGTL. Okay, 133. Yeah, I won that one. So C9 against TL. If I make a bet, I will bet on Team Liquid. For the value. But I'm not sure which side I would pick. Like, If my goal was get the pick right, I would just pick C9, and if they lose, they lose. If I was making a bet, I would not bet C9 at minus 370. So that's kind of where I'm looking for that one. So that's 2, 4, 6, 11 games. The last time there were more than 10 games on a slate, I went 12 for 12. So who knows? Maybe I go 11 for 11 tomorrow. Definitely an option. But as per usual, I'm not giving out picks. I'm not giving out like all of my picks in my videos anymore. In order to get access to my picks, you have to sign up for Patreon. With Patreon, you get access to Discord. There's actually a ton of people in Discord right now, and everybody talks about the League of Legends slates. They have different questions about like roster construction, who are you playing, which teams do you think could actually win tonight. And I'm not the only person giving my opinion in there. There's also people who, like, when something breaks on Twitter and you might not necessarily see it, they'll throw it up in the Discord channel, which is pretty helpful. We've had some big wins this week. I tied for second in the 444, and JQ Elite, I think his name, or is Elite JQ. He won like $9,000. And then Nick won some money last week. So, you know, we're doing pretty good right now. I know that there are a lot of people, there are a lot of different people providing like picks and information, but I think that I really do it a little different than everybody else. I watch all of these games, and I know that there are a few other people out there who are watching all of these games and give good advice and actually have an opinion. But a lot of the people out there are just recycling information that they've heard from other people. I'm sure that there are people watching my videos that are providers, but I'm not too concerned with that. There's more than enough content out there for everybody to survive. So those are my picks, or those are my thoughts on the slate, not my picks. But if you have any questions or comments, please hit up the comment section. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'm very responsive on Twitter. I might stream, so check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/The League of Items. The link is in my description. The link for Patreon is in the description. And I want to put together an Esportscenter like top 10 or something. So if you have a favorite like call that I've made so far this season, let me know which ones you like. And you know, if anybody out there wants to give me a list of 10 that they like, I'll take that into consideration. Because I do want to make that kind of video soon. I think it's been a lot of fun to make them, and I'd like to chop something up for like that for the community. So that's all I've got for you today. Well, for this video. I'll talk to you later.